Health Wednesday is proudly brought to you by Anusol.
Health Wednesday.
Health Wednesday. Every Wednesday at this time, we look at all sorts of issues that affect our physical bodies and sometimes our mental bodies and sometimes the merge between the two. I think this is so fascinating. Okay, we're going to talk about mental health, but we're also going to talk about substance abuse. And I've been watching so many people fall into heaps because they have a brother, a mother, a sister with a very severe, I don't know if they're degrees of substance abuse, but they are in substance abuse. They're in active addiction, right? And it's so difficult when someone's in active addiction to even talk to them about getting out of active addiction. People are living with depression, anxiety, and trauma as a result of that sometimes, but also as a result of living in this globe that we're living in. And they'll turn to alcohol, drugs, and medication to cope. So a young professional begins drinking every night to calm the racing thoughts, only to find that a year later they can't go through the day without an entire bottle of alcohol. So we're talking from that point of view, and we're talking from SADAG's substance use point of view to try and help other people get out of addiction and substance abuse, and also what's happening to your mental health on a daily basis. It may link to where you work, how you work, what kind of people you work with. It may link to where you live and your community at large, and going to bed every night with gunshots in the air. It may also pertain to your relationship, your romantic relationship. I am willing to bet can give you a severe mental health disease. I'm telling you now. So we're joined by psychologist Nthabiseng Moeketsi, who's a good friend to the show. Nthabiseng, nice to have you here.
Nice to see you, Pabi.
Thank you, my love. I know you see me. You see me inside,
I
no?
do.
And then we've got SADAG Substance Use Coordinator Tebogo Ramadiro, who's with us on the line. Hello, Tebogo.
Hi, how are you?
Very, very well, thank you. And thanks to both of you for coming in and talking about this conversation. So let's talk from a mental health point of view first. Nthabiseng, how do those mental health issues like depression or anxiety or something that's happening to you usually lead someone to start using substances?
Pabi, the sad part about mental illnesses affect how you even process information, whether negative or positive. And when you ultimately feel helpless and you ultimately feel like you are fighting every day, but there's no future, there's no winning, you want something that can make you feel better. And usually it's easier to find something that can actually make you feel like you'll forget a little bit or numb the feeling of depression, or either make it quiet, because most of the time people who are either depressed or anxious have ongoing conversations in their heads that are negative, and the attempt is to just keep it quiet. And in trying to keep it quiet, some eventually fall into abusing substances.
And so, Tebogo, when somebody comes through and they're not in that, drug addiction, or, people think of people having needles in their arms, but they're actually dealing with some very difficult mental health issues, and maybe they're addicted to a variety of prescription pills. Let's talk a little bit about that and how much more you're seeing that in South Africa.
Right. Thank you so much for your question, Pabi. So, like I think I had highlighted, a lot of people are struggling.
Tebogo, we've lost you completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm saying, Pabi, thank you so much for the question.
Are you on a headset, my darling?
No, I'm not on a headset.
I want your mouth must touch that phone so you can touch us with your message.
All right, can you hear me now?
That's much better. Thank you.
Oh, not a problem. As I was saying that, like Nthabiseng had said earlier on, that a lot of people are struggling with mental health, you know. So on the helpline perspective, it often sounds like deep exhaustion and emotionally and mentally, you know. So people tell us that they just needed something to cope, whether it's gaga, alcohol or pills, or even a vape. And majority of them, they're not even partying, you know. We hear the sadness and the shame.
Yeah.
And the fear that is on the call while we're speaking to them. And it's someone who doesn't want to feel anything at all because life feels too heavy. That's what we get on the line, you know, when we speak to them.
And sometimes life is heavy, right? Like sometimes there's a crisis where literally everything in your life that could break is breaking. And so I wonder, as SADAG, do you like, how does it work? Would you intervene and have that person phone once a week, or would you give them a plan to get through it, or what would you do as SADAG?
Okay. So what we do as SADAG, because remember that people will call in and it's already, it's not in depth, so we do referrals as well. So when someone calls in on the helpline, basically we assess, as we're speaking about addiction. Addiction is not, it's quite a complex condition when we're talking about it, right? So when someone reaches out, we have a conversation to find out where did it all start, you know. And sometimes they don't even, at the beginning of the conversation, to be quite honest with you, they don't even speak about the drinking or the smoking at the beginning. So what happens is that they would mention it as if it's an afterthought to say, you know what, I'm having relationship problems. By the way, I drink a bottle of wine every night just to sleep. Sure. So it's not the first thing that they start with. It's usually at the end. So that's where we tend to connect it to say, okay, you mentioned this. How is your relationship with alcohol? What is making you, besides the challenges that you're having with the relationship, that's making you drink a whole bottle? So we navigate in the way that we listen, we avail ourselves before even giving any like referrals or you know, tips. We avail ourselves, our counselors avail themselves, which is quite key and important.
I think that is very important, and I ask that specifically in Nthabiseng because, you know, I can have a conversation with you and you go, yes, girl, you can do it. Put it down. Just take a jog and you'll be fine. And then tomorrow I'm going to feel the same way. Or tomorrow I may feel worse. So the assistance that you have from having somebody who has your back on a daily basis, this is what you do every day.
Yes. And as we have people's backs, we also need to make sure that they also feel confident that whatever they're going through, it's exactly that. They are just going through it. They're not supposed to stay in it. So you encourage them to remind them that it's actually a temporary phase in your life. Unfortunately, the way you are going about it is actually making you even weaker. So let's find other strategies to help you cope with it. Because taking substances or alcohol, whatever mode of substance you take, looks like an easier way out. But unfortunately, it makes it even more difficult because it keeps you there. It doesn't make you think clearly and doesn't make you commit to the promises that you make to yourself about solving the problem. So when you have somebody having your back, they come across as a sounding board for you. They show you the points that you cannot see. They're actually on your blind spot saying, but if you drink, you feel better, it's okay. But after feeling better, what do you do? Because usually you feel better and you sleep. Tomorrow, the problem is still there. You're not solving anything. So you're just putting a bandage on it.
And I know, coming from an addiction background, that the next day you're not going to feel better. The next day you're going to need what they call the hair of the dog, and then you have more alcohol. And then by day 7, you're drinking every day, all day, the whole day. It's just become another problem, as you say, that you've added to your life. So how can you tell the difference between somebody who is maybe going through a crisis or recreationally or having, a certain thing that's happening to them, or someone who's coping with much deeper issues? Nthabiseng?
You can tell by looking at the frequency of drinking, the pattern of drinking, and the conversation they have before they drink or after they drink or while they are drinking. We are having conversations with ourselves all the time, but just that we are not aware sometimes, but we do it all the time. As you drink, you either taking that glass of wine in the evening to say, oh, I had a heavy day, let me relax. That's you talking to yourself, If you are drinking because it's recreational, it will happen when you're having fun with your friends only.
Yes.
Or when you are with people only. It has events. But if you're drinking it because you have a problem, you want to solve the problem, but you don't know how. But alcohol makes it feel like it's better, and it makes you forget a little bit about the problem. So you will take it every day without thinking, without even noticing how much you have drunk. And tomorrow you'll wonder, why did I sleep on the couch? What happened last night? So as soon as you ask yourself questions and don't have answers to them, just know you're on the brink.
I love that because, yes, we are continuously conversing with ourselves, but what would be the conversation that shows you that I might be going down the wrong path here?
The conversations will be around feeling like a victim all the time. This is happening to me. A lot of these things are happening to me. Life is not going well for me. Life is better for whoever and whoever, but it is not for me. I tried X, Y, Z, and it's not working. There's nothing else to do. How else? So if you constantly feed yourself with negative thoughts and you constantly look at yourself as a victim and you constantly don't interact with your life. It's important to interact with life. Sit down and say, what am I going to do today? So you're taking control of what you are going to do today. Things are not just going to happen and you're like, oh, what happened today? So you wake up with an intention. So if you live your life intentionally, then you are interacting with your life. You won't be surprised by anything.
I love interacting with your life. I love that saying. Because I think we talk about being present, we talk about knowing ourselves, but are we interacting with our lives? Are we in the morning going, phew, I don't know if I slept very well. I wonder what's bothering me. What do I have to do today? You are interacting with your life. I don't know why that's blowing my mind, because you would interact with your partner, right? You would say to your partner, how did you sleep? Are you okay? But then ourselves, we're just like, keep it moving, keep it moving.
You just keep moving.
Yeah, and I think that's...
keep reacting. We don't respond. We don't take responsibility for how we respond.
That's the next thing I was going to say, because interacting with your life requires you to take some responsibility, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And, it's nice just to react. You don't take responsibility for anything.
You're constantly the victim.
Yeah, constantly the victim. And that's what is nice about being a victim. You don't take responsibility for anything, so you can blame everyone else. Then you're okay.
Tebogo, I want to come to you on that note because, a thing that happens a lot in the alcohol and recovery world is they did this to me. I went through this because of him. He made me have the first. There's a lot of blame, right? And I'd love to know some of, especially with substance abuse, some of the ways that you start breaking that down and having people interact with their lives.
Okay. So what we do is that, and what Nthabiseng also highlighted is quite profound to say that we don't interact with ourselves, and I think it also includes a lot of shame and guilt.
I think after none of that.
Can you hear me, Pabi?
I'm not sure what I'm hearing right now.
Can you hear me now?
Tebogo, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yes, I was saying that in terms of what Nthabiseng was also saying, that we're not interacting enough with ourselves, right? But most of the people that reach out on the lines, they're experiencing a lot of shame and guilt, So it's often when they reach out, it's often quiet or they pause, So us being available, how we break the barriers is just providing that safe space that's non-judgmental. To say like, this is where you can really pour out your heart, because a lot of people who are struggling with addiction, struggling with substance use, don't usually, like you're saying, they blame, say someone convinced me. But if you can ask anyone that ever started using substances, was it their choice? Majority of them will tell you, a friend introduced me to the substance, or I was going through a particular situation, I was experimenting with it. So we go back to say, okay, what led you to these experiments? And the more you show the people that they need to be kind to themselves, that's when they realize that they are going through a lot of challenges. So we often just offer that space of not judgmental, of understanding, even listening without even saying anything. And most of the time we are too quick to respond when someone is telling you their problems. But just say, you know what, I'm here to listen. That's how we handle it on the line.
I think that's a very beautiful thing. Nare, you are on the line. Hello.
Hi, Papi. How's it?
Good. Welcome. Talk to us.
Yes. Yeah, I would like to think that mental illness actually is something that is normal for all human beings. I think we got mental illness somehow, but we're just not aware. The whole idea that someone will spend their time hanging with, in front of the Shopotama, Pakistan, I have seen, and you find that it's so cold, but a person cannot stay in the house. Because they just want to, even some men, you find that they are married, but they will rather, when they come from work, they will rather go to somewhere and then they come home, later. And the whole idea that some people as well, they use masturbation as well when they are feeling lonely. So, but others, they turn to alcohol. So, which is not healthy as well. We understand. I feel like myself, I read a lot. I spend most of my time, sometimes when I go to bed around 11, my eyes will be so painful, but I can't put down whatever I'll be reading. So that's why I'm saying I think others were just unlucky that they decided to turn to alcohol and other stuff. But mental illness is just all of us, we got mental illness. Depends on how we deal with it.
I got you, Nare. I got you. I'm just giggling. How couldn't I have been the lucky one who just loved maths? Hey, imagine if the whole day I just want to do equations. But Tebogo, that's a very interesting thing that Nare is saying. Is it like that to a degree that we all have mental strain, we all have some sort of mental illness, or we all have some sort of mental something? It's just the substance you've chosen or the substance that was around at the time can take you, down in your life or not.
So the first thing I would like to maybe clear in terms of what Nare is saying is that when we speak about mental illness, it's a whole different condition versus when we're speaking about mental health. So each and every one of us, our mental health does get affected, So when we speak about mental health, we're talking about your day-to-day functioning, how you interact with problems. Just being stuck in traffic, that can, disrupt your mental health. So when we're talking about mental illness, so not everyone has got a mental illness. So when we're talking about a mental illness, which is Nthabiseng can also maybe correct me there, is that it's a medically diagnosed condition. So we're talking your depression, your bipolar, your schizophrenia, But when we're talking about your mental health, each and every one of us, when someone is standing by the robots or someone is married and avoids being at home, it means that there's something that's affecting their mental health. Hence, the behavior is changing around their family members. So that's the point I wanted to clear, that our mental health does get affected, No one is happy 365 days. But it's just distinguishing the languages or understanding that when we're talking about mental illness, this is what we're talking about. But when we're talking about mental health, this is what we're talking about. So each and every one of us I can agree that our mental health does get affected.
Beautiful comment there. Tebogo's on the line, Nthabiseng's on the line. We're talking about mental health and the link between substance abuse and mental ill health. I suppose it's what you've just kind of explained to us, Tebogo. And we'll do more of that after this. Your 2:30 Power Headlines.
Health Wednesday is proudly brought to you by Anusol.
All right, it is 25 minutes to go until 2 o'clock. We are still talking about understanding the link between what happens to us mental health-wise and why people start to rely on substances and the amount of substance abuse in South Africa. And Tebogo from SADAG and Nthabiseng Moeketsi, our counseling psychologist, join us for this conversation, and you can too. I also want to talk about it the other way around. So if you are in a situation where you are having trouble with substance abuse, what does that do to your mental health, Nthabiseng?
It's a case of chicken and egg, primarily. You can start off with mental illness, and that leads you to using substances. Or you can start with substances and eventually you lose control of your mental health. So basically, if you use substances for too long, you end up getting accustomed to the comfort that the substance is giving you, and you don't learn the tools to challenge the problems that you go through in your life, and you adopt that victim mentality that eventually makes you not to fight or to interact with life, as you have mentioned before. So you eventually just become stuck in that phase of drinking or taking drugs over and over again because you can't actually get out of it. And the unfortunate part is that the language that you also use as you speak to yourself also makes it worse. Like what I just said now. You are stuck in there because you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else I can't. It's a decision. You want to come out of it. But because coming out of it needs you to be responsible, needs you to take steps, needs you to talk to people, needs you to go out there and seek help. And because you are consumed with feelings of shame and embarrassment and this and that, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So whatever that you want to protect at that point will either lead you to think deeper or to raise up your hand and say, I want help.
I want to ask a similar question to you, Tebogo, because sometimes the issues with the substance abuse almost trigger the mental health.
Yeah, it does. So what happens is, let's say, for example, someone who's using cannabis or crystal meth, they do go through what we call drug-induced psychosis. When they reach out to the helpline to say, look, I'm starting to hear voices, So, like, it can either trigger you. It can either trigger your mental health conditions, the use and abuse of substances. So, things like to be mindful of as well is that we don't know what is put on the same substance that we're using. We're also seeing a trend where people now are using over-the-counter medications like your cough mixture. They're mixing it with a fizzy drink, So already that will destabilize your mental health because you're confusing the brain to say that you've got a cough, whereas you don't have a cough. So there is that link to say that the usage or the abuse of substances can, lead to, mental health conditions. Even in the situation of drinking alcohol, some people experience seizures. Not even being able to get the long-term effects of, drinking alcohol. Some of them, I think you've ever heard the term of someone saying, I'm a functioning alcoholic.
Yes.
To say, look, if I haven't had one or two drinks, I won't be able to work. So now you've developed a dependency towards, the alcohol, we even encourage, let's say someone comes to your yard to build a wall. They are good at building. But they say, if I can take cannabis, or if I don't smoke daga first, I won't be able to do it quicker,
Yeah.
So there's that interlink to say we need to be aware of those things, to say that the abuse or the misuse of substances can lead to mental health conditions or mental illness conditions.
Yeah, I think that's so important because I don't know if it's a real story or if it's one of those stories that our parents tell us. But I think every Kasi has that guy who is a brilliant genius on the way to the top. And then Natsuba Dipachi too much. Ebahlanya. I've heard that my whole life. So that's why I'm very curious about, if the substance abuse can trigger things that lead to long-term mental illness and why it's so important to look at it from both sides. Okay, so treating the mental health disorder and the substance dependency at the same time sounds like a very difficult job. And Nthabiseng, how do you balance the two?
Treating those two starts with, if a person comes in with a substance abuse issue, you start off by, especially in what do they call them? The rehab centers.
The rehabs, yeah.
They start off by detoxing the person first.
Yeah.
And as they detox them, they assign them to therapists. And as they assign them to therapists will take them through the journey to find out what actually led them to start using and eventually depending and eventually being addicted. So it's a stage-by-stage kind of a process, and you have to go through it all. And while you are detoxing, after detoxing, you are already in the program of understanding why you are there, and you are involved in group therapy and group interactions with other people. And in the process also, as you are treating alcohol dependence, you also look at the weaknesses that the person portrays that actually lead them to taking alcohol. Is it because of lack of strong will? Is it because of lack of making choices? Or is it because of lack of making good choices for their lives? And then you teach them how to substitute that with good choices and good choices that will make their lives better. And also linking that to what they want to achieve, what is their ambition, and comparing that to the need for alcohol. Why do you take substances? What is your goal with it? Vis-a-vis, what is your goal generally in life? And whether that taking up substance abuse can help you achieve your goal eventually. So you balance the two, but you don't do one and leave the other. You can take a person to a detox that only focuses on, to a rehab that focuses only on detoxing. They will go back because mentally they are not healed, emotionally they are not okay. So if you combine the two, it's an excellent form of treatment for them.
Talk to me about that process and how SADAG can help to support that process, Tebogo.
So how SADAG can support the process is creating that education, because we believe that when you send somebody to rehab or they go for rehabilitation, the child has been broken within the family setup, So also the family needs to be involved in that. The behavior has to change. Because remember, when the person comes out of rehabilitation, we still keep our old behaviors. What I mean by that is that we also educate the family members to say, which is an unconscious thing that one can do. Let's say someone asks for a glass of water, and you unconsciously give them water in a wine glass. Is that not triggering, the individual? So we psychoeducate around to say, like, the behaviors have to change because we as a family, we think we don't have a problem because of I can handle my alcohol. But you're not realizing that the individual that you are staying with or family member, the loved one that's struggling with addiction also needs the support from you guys. So, which is one thing I've noticed, which is also amazing, is that when the person comes out of rehab, we do a party for them. Which is quite great,
Celebrate.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? That mustn't be the case, or what?
No, when we look at it, we can have yes, we're trying to celebrate that they've reached sobriety, right? But now we are putting drinks and alcohol or beverages, but we are celebrating sobriety. So we need to relook at how we celebrating the sobriety instead of saying, look, you've come out of rehab. Maybe we rather have plans in place, like to say, okay, some of the people that are struggling with addiction, they do reach out to the helpline to say, look, I don't have a plan now. I'm unemployed. I have nothing to do. So why don't we equip them with skills, to say, look, why don't you do a course, a short training course this is to help them to not relapse. So that's where the mindset should change. That's what we try to educate on the lines to the family members, to say that the person has gone to rehab. That time that they are in rehab, you guys also need to repair your relationship, because trust has been broken, and we need to be mindful of our behaviors towards that individual, because a lot of people that use substances are often triggered by family members, are often introduced by people within the family to say, like Malume Mukasi Are, you know what, Mfanaga, this helps me concentrate. Try Tunya, we I think we grew up in an era, without me exposing my age, where it was you would fear to even ask for a box of matches, from your uncle or an elderly person. But these days we've normalized it, So these are the small behaviors that we're talking about, we try to educate people about on the line.
So that's very interesting, because a lot of people, or some people, find themselves leaving a rehab facility and then having to go back to rehab time and time and time again. And so my question isn't necessarily only about the family or about what triggers you, but Nthabiseng, I want to know, because we're talking mental health and substance abuse, how do you start putting things in place that are going to be more healthy for you? If you have to go back to the job, you have to go back to the same job, and you're going to see the same bullies, and you're going to, so how do you start putting things in place for you so that it helps your mental health, but also doesn't trigger you in terms of your substance abuse?
Unfortunately, substance abuse is a systematic problem that we need to approach from different levels. And if you, for instance, you come from rehab and you are expected to go back to work, and the job environment is the one that actually triggered you to start drinking or to start using cannabis, as Tebogo said, people that work with you need to be educated around what is going on with mental illness or with addiction, and they become aware of the things that can trigger, particularly your line manager. And after that, we then look at what are the things that actually make you feel triggered to actually reach out for a bottle. And can we restructure how we think? Can we shift your thinking ability a little bit? Can we give you responsibilities that will make you feel needed or important in the work environment that will make you not reach for the bottle again? So we look at all the components at work that may trigger you to go back. And it is important that all and everyone in the environment that you're working in are aware that you need to get support. So it's the same as in the family. The family needs to get the rehabilitation as well, even if they are not going into rehab, but they also need to change how they think around you and how they do things. Same thing at work. And for instance, you find that a person had certain habits that triggered anger from other people or annoyed other people that reacted to him. So you make them aware of little things that contribute to the ultimate decision to actually say, I'm better off smoking or I'm better off drinking.
Let's take a very short break. This is Power Lunch on Power 98.7.
This is Power Lunch
with Pabi Moloi
on Power 98.7.
This is Power Lunch on Power 98.7, and I always say that this is probably one of the most enjoyable programs in my broadcasting career, which has been unbelievably long, and yet I'm so young, because we get to talk about things that are important to me. And I think that mental health is so important to me. The understanding of substance abuse is so important to me. And I get to speak with experts every day. I think that's in a way, Nthabiseng, I'm lucky because I get to interact with my life right here on the radio with you, which I'm very, very grateful for. Tebogo Ramadiro is here from SADAG. He's the Substance Use Coordinator, Counseling Psychologist. Nthabiseng Moeketsi is with us here as well. Shall we have a listen to some voice notes?
Pabi, Mandla here from Pretoria. I used to smoke
Zol, ganja. Back in the days when I was in school, I built some crazy applications. I'm a web developer. So I used to build some crazy stuff. Now I stopped smoking in general, but from time to time I would. It either gets you tired or gets you super amazing work. Now, my question would be, and I know a whole couple of people that they smoke so for inspiration or whatever that they're doing. Where does this fall in this topic?
Personally, I feel like it falls into the lies that we tell ourselves. But Tebogo, your point of view. So you smoke, so you're more creative. When you don't smoke, you're less creative. What do you say to that?
So it is because we often hear it quite a lot.
Yeah.
Look, for me, to have creative juices, I need to smoke, right? But now it's an argument of saying, when you are if you stop smoking, why are your creative juices are not working? So it's like you're creating an obstacle to you thinking outside of the substance that you are using. Because some would say the environment is quite precious. Like, I use cocaine, to be creative.
Jeez.
But already, before you were even introduced to cocaine, you were creative as an individual. So it's just facing the realities of, look, maybe I'm stuck in my career. I'm not having any new ideas. What is new on the market, instead of us now using that particular substance, because it's each to their own, to be quite honest. But all these substances that we're using, it's almost like we're using them to motivate, or we give reasons why we are using them, It's like every time we have gatherings, right? And we even, another thing that we do a birthday party for a 1-year-old, right? But if you look at the budget for the food, the budget is more for alcohol than the food, So we always try to find reasons of why we need to use substance. So in connection with what the caller is saying, the mere fact that he had stopped to realize that when I was smoking, I'm becoming creative, and he stopped, and he realizes that maybe his creative juices are not there. He needs to look at other healthier, options. We usually say that we form a relationship with substances. That's
the thing.
We need to check the relationship, because we think we don't have a relationship with substances.
Yeah.
So you need to ask yourself, am I having a healthy relationship with alcohol or with dacha or with cocaine, or is it an unhealthy one, right? Because if now it's an unhealthy one, you're losing a lot of things, based on using the substance. What am I gaining when I'm using it? What am I losing? So
which is why an organization like yours, or having a counselor like Nthabiseng, is so important, because sometimes you forget who you are. You forget what makes you tick. You forget why you took on, computer science in the first place. So you're absolutely right. It is a bit of an excuse that addicts can tell themselves. Kevin, you're in Loftus Gardens.
Yes, good afternoon, Pabi, and how are you? Yes.
Very well. We welcome you.
Okay, I can't help myself but to make connected dots of having, as parents versus kids, with that connection of, is it possible to say we can introduce something as to as a warning not to do it again, as much as we are crying of these kids being addicted to these bullying.
We can't hear you. I don't know what you're saying, Kevin. As parents, that's where I lost it.
I was saying, I'm realizing that kids are getting addicted to smoking.
Kids.
Rapidly. Yes.
Yes.
But our teenagers.
Yes.
And that's escalating or putting the risk of mental health issues coming earlier to them.
Yes.
Compared to us, the parents. And then how we are actually allowing them to actually drink with them at the same time, or making as if we can have a reason just to drink. It doesn't matter for what it is. So I can't help myself making that dot of connection from the previous topic that you're talking about, the parenting issues as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. I don't think I'll ever get used to the idea of somebody drinking with their parent. I'm just not sure. And there are people, and if you're not an addict, then you just see it as a glass of wine with a nice piece of meat because that's the pairing. But I couldn't imagine it. I could not imagine it. Maybe because I'm black. I don't know. Nthabiseng, what do you think?
I would say some parents would say it's best to drink with your child because you get to know their habits once they have drunk, and you get to teach them what alcohol can do to them or what a substance can do to them for them to be able to take care of them when they are alone without you. On that point, it's done from a good space. But unfortunately, you are teaching your children that there are no boundaries. Anything can happen anyhow. There are no rules. Whatever you want, you can do anywhere. But I also say, do it responsibly. Whatever you are trying to teach your child in terms of trying to avoid negative behaviors, do it responsibly and do it with explaining why you are doing certain things and taking responsibility for the consequences of the things that you do. And don't be surprised as a parent if you are the one who actually introduced your child to alcohol, encourage your child to drink, and then when they drink that much, you come back, you are surprised that, I don't understand. Why do you drink so much? So take precautions, be aware of what you're doing, be aware of the consequences, and just guide your child along, from a positive point of view.
We've run out of time, unfortunately, but Tebogo, how do we get hold of yourself and SADAG?
Okay, so you can reach us on 0800 12 13 14. That's the substance abuse helpline. It operates 24/7, 365 days, 7 days a week. Beautiful. We are just saying that this is the first step, calling us, and then we'll help guide you through what's available based on your situation. So they can reach out to our number, which is 0800 12 13 14.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Tebogo Ramadiro, SADAG Substance Use Coordinator. Nthabiseng, how do we find you?
On my cell number, 076 142 2459. Always open.
Okay. Do you need someone to help you make social media or how do you get? Because I can't help you.
I can hear the laugh from behind.
We're not teasing you. It's a real offer. Think about it. We'll think about it. The next time we speak, we'll talk about it, okay? Always the best. Nthabiseng Moeketsi, our counseling psychologist, as we wrap up Power Lunch on Power 98.7.
Health Wednesday was proudly brought to you by Anusol.